Hello everyone, my name is Monica and I'm from geeksagogo.com, and I'm here to show you a really fun tutorial on how to make a scallop hem or a scallop edge on your cosplay or any sort of fabric. I've recently used it as a commission that I did for a Peppa Madrigal cosplay. You can use it for Eclipsa, and there's a whole other list of characters that you can use this for. Alright, well, let's hop right into it. Alright, let's go on ahead and check out what type of materials we're going to need in order to achieve this. We're going to need a fabric, cosplay, or whatever garment it is that you're adding the scallops to. Make sure that your fabrics are already pre-washed and ironed before you get started with your project. Sewing thread that matches your fabric scissors, and your regular scissors. Sewing marker or sewing chalk. Then you're going to need round object. Any of these can work. This handy dandy clear ruler that I love using. I also have my tape measure. Up next is sewing pins. You'll also need some sort of paper or cardboard. Now let's jump into some optional items. What I have here is a bias tape. This is used to finish an edge of a garment. You can also use a fabric stabilizer. If you plan on having a more stiff or rigid look to your scallops, I highly recommend using those. Alright, before we get started, of course, we're going to go on ahead and iron the fabric. That way there won't be any wrinkles. Also make sure that your fabric is washed. Fabric does shrink sometimes after you wash it. Plus, it will avoid any type of residue and dust being present while you're working on your projects as well. And so first things first is we measure how long your garment or your fabric is. This is around 21 inches. Now, even if this is 21 inches in length, I'm not going to use 21 inches because when I make my projects, I normally have a hem allowance of ½ an inch on both sides. So I'm going to round it up to 20. For those who love math, 20 is divisible by 2, 4, 5, and 10. For this project, I'm going to be using 2 because that makes it easy. But if you hate math, don't worry, I have a tip for you as well. So after I've determined that this is technically I'm going to be using 20 inches since I have the ½ inch hem on both sides. I've determined that this small can of soda is 2 inches after I've measured it. What I'm going to do with my pattern is I'm going to grab my piece of paper or cardboard or cardstock, whichever that you have. I'm going to put a straight line first. So I'm going to do this. We're going to do shallow circles for right now. So I think I'm going to do about here and then trace it. So yeah, we're just going to basically just trace around it and cut around the traced semicircles that we have here. Okay, so for those of you who don't want to math it, right? Fold it by half. And then fold it inward and you have a smaller circle. Now, of course, this only works if you start out with a larger circle. But just for the sake of demonstrating how you can accommodate for a length that is too small, for example, that's one way of doing it. So I folded that section in half, and then I'll fold it in to where it still resembles a semicircle. See what I did there? And you can even use this as big and then 2 small scallops and then another big one. You can also use that variation as well if you'd like. But yeah, this is just some trick that I found also. If you don't feel like measuring to the exact measurement, or you're too lazy to measure, that's another technique to do it. Once you've finished making your pattern, set it aside because we are going to need to finish the hems of the fabric before we get started. As I mentioned earlier, you can either use your serger to do it, or you can use bias tape. Pick one that is the color that matches your fabric. I'm just doing this for the sake of the tutorial. That way you can see the difference. And yeah, I'll be right back and finish this edge. Once you're done adding your bias tape, what you're going to be doing is you're going to fold the fabric in such a way that both the right sides or the front part of the fabric like touches each other. So I'm going to fold it like this. Alright. Okay, so after you fold it, then we're going to trace our pattern. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to place the pattern in here. And give yourself about 1/8 of an inch from the fold to the pattern. Okay, now after you draw your pattern onto the fabric, you start pinning it just to keep the fabric in place while you're sewing. Okay, now it's time to sew our scallops onto the fabric. Now, remember when doing this part of the project, you know, you don't have to be fast. This is not a race. It's really important that you get through all the curves like nice and slow just to get the exact shape. And normally the setting that I use is the second to the smallest. This gives it a nicer finish, and not only that, it actually prevents the scallop from unraveling. So I have it set up to the medium length stitch. I'm gonna grab my fabric, and we're just gonna take this nice and slow into the sewing machine here. Alright, we're close to the finish line here, so this is where we start cutting the excess fabric of the scallop. So what I like to do is I like to cut all the peaks first. You're gonna go ahead and cut as close to the stitch as possible, but not on or through the stitch. So please be careful about that, like leave a little bit of a gap there. And then we're gonna go ahead and cut the excess of the curves. So I've already started with this side here, so I'm just gonna continue with the rest. And right now I'm doing about 1/8 of an inch from the stitching. And please try not to cut where the stitches are. Great. Alright, now that you're done cutting them, you're not quite done yet. Now we're going to start notching the ends here. And what that is we are going to cut tiny triangles. And the reason why we're doing this is because this helps give us a more defined curve. So once you flip the fabric, it will have that effect. Alright, now once you're done cutting this, here's the fun part. You get to flip it inside out like this, and then you continue on till you get all the other curves like that. Once you're done flipping over the curves, all you gotta do is iron it to let it keep its shape. And if you encounter some edges that actually are not adhering to or like curved enough for you, it might just need a little bit of a help. So grab a pin, grab a sewing pin, and just kind of just nudge it out. Hold it in place for a little bit and then iron it. And that will give you a more perfect looking curve. Alright, now here's your final product. Now you have your scalloped edge. If you look at the back, you already have your finished edge in here, which looks really nice. You can stitch this, do a blind stitch to keep this in place if you'd like, or put like double-sided tape. Sometimes you can do that, or hem tape. And yeah, it's a beautiful addition to any cosplay that requires a little bit of extra character by adding these scalloped edging. Alright everyone, well, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I am just so excited to show you even more in the future. If you want to see my work and my other upcoming projects, you can always find me at Geeks-A-Go-Go on all social media platforms. Once again, my name is Monica and I'm from geeksagogo.com. Till next time, and enjoy your fandom your way. Goodbye!